It's the 3rd of October today, and looking at this lovely view in front of my office, you would think that we've had lovely weather throughout the early autumn, but not so. This is one of the rare days when the sun has come out. The previous week has been very cold and miserable. The temperature went down to about almost freezing in the early morning, and the day temperatures were about 10 or 12 degrees. Today the temperature has risen to 15 or 16 degrees centigrade, and the sun is shining and the blue skies are there for all to see. I love taking pictures in the evening when the light is at this very low angle. The sun is just about to set, but the colors are vibrant in the sun. Even the greens look marvelous. Look at it. What a beautiful sight. I'm now just going to walk through the nursery to show you some of the sights. The pines, the black pines here are very green. Our Japanese 5-needle pines have shed most of their needles, and we've been around cleaning it. Look at it, all the needles on the floor. And we've cleaned most of our white pines. Not many left because we've sold quite a few this year. So after cleaning, this is what the pines look like, fresh and green. So let me walk a little more. At this time of the year, the autumn colors, pyracantha, beautiful, beautiful berries. I have just the odd Virginia creeper. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it when it was in full leaf, but it's a very rare plant, but they do make a very nice bonsai. Let me walk and show you some of the other pyracantha. They're the only ones that have vibrant color at the moment. For some reason, the hornbeams are not looking so good. The Korean hornbeam, they usually have a lovely autumn color. Look at that. That pyracantha still has a few flowers blooming. If you prune it hard in the summer, you get a second flush of flowers, which is unusual, but that's what happens. Our maples, the bonsai maples, have not had good color because most of the leaves were burnt in the sun. But I'll show you some of them. Look at the menacing clouds in the sky. This is the only decent maple that I've got, which is in this lovely color. This has done well. The maples at Wisley, when I went there last week, were looking splendid. Junipers are magnificent trees. Look at the view with the sun shining on them at this low angle. That's a magnificent Itoigawa root over rock. This is another of my homemade Japanese maple bonsai. That trunk is about 8 inches in diameter, but the nebari is about 2 foot. 2 foot wide. That's a big tree. The maple trees which are growing in the ground haven't started turning color yet. Just a tinge of color, but the full color has yet to come. It'll be another month before the colors come into their own. The evergreens are still the pride of place here. They have this exquisite color. This is a dissectum. This is sold. It's going to a customer hopefully next week. And I did mention that I haven't had much luck with my herbaceous plants. My dahlias have been mostly eaten by the slugs this year. Before they get to about 2 inches tall, the slugs have decimated them. These I grew in pots and then planted them when they were quite mature. But look at that, that's one I planted, but I don't think the slugs have given it a chance to grow. This is what the slugs do. Can you see? They keep eating all the new shoots. So I never see any flowers from them. So it's been a bad, bad year for dahlias. I'm not sure if I'll grow them again. And this is the lovely Japanese bush clover. Not many people know this plant, but it's an exquisite plant for the garden. Oh, when the sun shines at this low angle, you certainly get a different dimension, different vista. So this is going to be my early autumn walk, showing you some of the early autumn color. This is a Japanese hornbeam, and this year the color is exceptionally nice. Look at the shapes of the leaves and the color of the leaves. This is one of my experimental plants, and those are Japanese maple, but the varieties are the Japonicums, not the palmatum. For those of you who want to have a closer look, the Japanese call this maikujaku, that means peacock's tail, because the leaves are quite distinctive, quite different from the ordinary palmatum. So this is Japonicum. And maple trees that are grown in pots turn color earlier. I was trying to make this into a bonsai. Look at the nebari on that tree, but I didn't have the heart to chop it down because they look so nice as ordinary trees. I couldn't see the point of chopping it down. I'm walking through a jungle of Chinese elm. This Chinese elm is about 9 foot tall. Look at the shoots. And I'm growing it big to strengthen the tree. So when you see trees growing in this crazy fashion, it's not because Peter Chan has been lazy trimming them. I do have a plan in mind. I let these shoots grow so that trees become strong, trunks become thick, and then I will trim them back. And of course, can you imagine the hundreds of cuttings I can get from that tree? Everything is quiet. These are some of the YouTube projects from earlier this year. This is the blue cedar forest that I started, and then the cedar of Lebanon forest that I started. This is one of those rare uh, redwoods. This I think is called pixie. Look at the trunk. This is a 5 foot tall bonsai in the making. This is a rough bark maple, Arakawa, and I've grown it into a 10-foot tall garden tree. I love the colors in the autumn. It's only the start of the autumn color. Give it another month and it will be flame red, crimson, deep crimson. This is another of the Japonicums, Maikujaku. These trees all came from Japan. The clone is very important. They are Japanese trees that have been growing for the last 30 years on the nursery. They were barely 12 inches tall as bonsai, but over 30 years in big pots, this is what they look like. Again, one of our big ginkgo bonsai grown into a big ginkgo tree. This is a female ginkgo, one of the few female ginkgos I have. Another Japanese hornbeam. The Japanese hornbeam seems to have developed good autumn color this year. These are all grown from young plants and they're getting big, so I'm in no rush to make them into bonsai. Again, just shows how patient you've got to be. Really patient. But then many of these are experiments. We are forever doing experiments on the nursery because unless I do experiments, I don't know how trees will behave as bonsai. So that is the logic. This is a Chinese juniper, but I'm not sure what variety it is. Oh, this is juniper media, mint julep. Almost looks like Itoigawa. These old maples are only just about to turn color. It's only a hint of gold in it, but they will turn red. Even the ginkgo is still bright green. That yellow tree, that's a Japanese white beech. We have two large white beech in the garden, which are about 30 foot tall, and they were grown about 34 years ago from small 5 or 6 inch high bonsai trees. Another of our large Arakawa, that one's got a trunk diameter of about 10 inches at the base. See the size of it. So the star attraction at this time of the year are these maples. Maples which are grown in pots are starting to turn. But as I said, the maples growing in the ground haven't shown much signs of color change yet. Oh, I love it when the sun shines through the leaves at this low angle. Look at the view. It's almost like backlighting. Absolutely gorgeous. And these are the large Zelkova serrata trees that I planted back in 1986. They're about 80 foot, 100 foot tall. I told you I planted 350 of them. I had to cut down 300 because they became too large. There was no light underneath. So I've only kept about 50 of these trees. And I'm showing it to you because they do get good autumn color. So let's see what happens. A few leaves are turning orange or pink. In a good year, I've seen the whole tree turn red. So with the sun behind me, it's not so nice. I think it's nicer when you walk into the sun. I'm not a skilled photographer, but I've learned just by trial and error. So look at it. I'm going to turn around and see when I look at the trees with the sun shining through them, it gives a completely different feel. Look at the colors there. The planes are flying overhead, but with my mic, I hope you can't get the distraction from the planes. This is Osaka Zuki. And Osaka Zuki also has one of the best autumn colors. And the leaves are very distinctive because the lobes of the leaves are quite different from the lobes of other Japanese maple leaves. Those of you who grow maples will or should recognize this variety very easily. And then one final shot. I'm in the middle of this Bramley apple orchard. The Bramley is the very famous English cooking apple. It's the best cooking apple, they reckon, for making apple pies and apple crumble. And I've let them grow in this crazy fashion because it gives so much character. This old tree was weighted down by the fruit and it collapsed, but I'm not going to dig it out. I'm just going to let it continue growing like this. This is a very magical place. You look at the size of the trees. These are all 80-foot high Bramley apples. We have owls which nest in the trees, and it is simply magical. When my children were young, in their teenage years, they used to string hammocks here and they used to do their studies here. So how exciting and, you know, lovely is this to grow up in this sort of environment. So there you go. On that note, I will finish filming for today and hopefully you can enjoy it.